its intention to respond in a suit filed by Festus Keyamo against the presidential candidate of the PDP in the February 25 poll, Atiku Abubakar. Now, this became known after lawyers to the ICPC, Oluwakemi Odogun, told Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court, Abuja, of the Commission's plan to file its response in the case. As you may know, Festus Keyamo had instituted the suit against Abubakar over allegations bordering on money laundering. Meanwhile, Minister of State, Labour and Employment Festus Keyamo has petitioned the State Security Service demanding the arrest and prosecution of the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi and his running mate Dati Baba Ahmed for incitement and treasonable felony. In a petition addressed to the DG of the DSS, the minister, who was the chief spokesperson of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, accused Obi and Ahmed Dati of making what he called incendiary comments and claims about the declaration of the president-elect by INEC. Moving on, some residents of Port Harcourt believe that Nigeria's democracy has developed enough and that the judiciary can overturn the results of the last presidential election if found to have violated the law. And they share their views with our correspondent shortly after the Labour Party and the PDP presidential candidates filed their petitions against the results of the February 25 presidential election. And they expressed hope that the judiciary can deliver an unbiased judgment to the respective petitions.
We have grown to that level of democracy that election can be overturned. It has happened in the states, happened in some local government. It could also happen at the national, because we know and we also believe that the court is the hope of the common man. This could happen. It could have happened in smaller countries in Africa. So why can't it happen in Nigeria?
I believe, our Supreme Court, for them to make us to see reasons why we will still use our own naira back to today, means they don't reach the level to also even decide our presidency how it will be. Now, your proofs what our judiciary go fit use judge matter.
If the judiciary will sit and point hand at the president-elect and say no be you, sit back, let person wey win sit. If that thing fit happen for this country don better.
And APC in Rivers State says what happened in Rivers State on the 18th of March cannot qualify to be an election, rather a process in which INEC and the Nigeria Police allegedly helped Governor Nyesom Wike to install the governorship candidate of the PDP, Siminalayi Fubara, as governor. APC in a statement by its chairman, Emeka Beke, and spokesperson Darlington Nwaju also disclosed that it will challenge the PDP's victory in court and in that it has not conceded defeat. The party further alleged widespread violence across the state during the polls, which claimed the lives of 5 of its members in the Ahoda West local government area. And candidate of the Labour Party for Ahoda East Constituency 2, Wisdom Odum, says the March 18 governorship and House of Assembly election in his constituency was marred by some irregularities and thuggery, allegedly orchestrated by the PDP in the area. Odum called for the cancellation of results from Ahoda East Constituency 2. He alleged that INEC connived with the PDP to rig the elections against the wishes of his constituency.
The governorship and House Assembly election on the 18th of March 2023 was characterized by rigging. Ahoda East, INEC and the PDP connived together and used talk with arms to rig election in polling units. So we hereby call the Relevant Authority and INEC National to cancel the election in Ahoda East because Labour Party won the election, both the governorship and the Assembly.
And the PDP is yet to respond to this. Meanwhile, security expert DLA Aigbe is calling for compensation for families of those killed during the governorship and state assembly elections in Rivers State. Dr. Aigbe gave the advice while analysing how government at all levels responded to issues of security challenges during the just concluded general elections. He told correspondent Soibi Ruwari that compensating the families affected by electoral violence will boost the confidence of citizens to take part in future elections.
We don't always look at the victims, we always look at the offenders. So we should change that narrative. We should look at the victim, compensate them, and you have to know the number of people that was even killed. The government have to compensate them and honor them. Especially the polling unit, those who ABOC staff that was killed, they have to compensate them, not have a psychoeducate the families, and they call it bereaved therapy, adopt bereaved therapy to them. Don't do that as a government. Next election will come, people don't want to do that. You don't want to risk your life. You say, even though you say national security, national service, people don't want to do that because the previous people that have died, you didn't compensate them.
They complain that the silence of the government about the killings in the state is too loud to ignore.
The incoming government should be to do that in this part of the world. We cannot force them. We'll just make recommendations. The government doesn't have the willpower, ability to do that, or detection, ability to don't lose intention. Those recommendations to action could be lacking in the government and ability. But the mentality of our leaders. The government should be to not use that show example, lead by example. This is our democracy. This is fledgling democracy. We should be able to protect the lives of Nigerians and encourage people to come out, because subsequent election come and they're not properly put in place. People don't want to come out. If I go and die, what become of my family that have been killed in the hand of GC in this electoral violence?
The security analyst also urged the government to thoroughly investigate the electoral violence to rekindle the hope of Nigerian citizens.
It's really sad. The government has not taken action in this narrative. We have made recommendations. It does like the government would just say, we're at top of the game, but we see any of it. If this government has not been very, 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 very visible in taking actions, or probably commiserating with the people that have died, or, in body language, is not showing that it's important. He doesn't really care about guys, See the number of statistics of people that killed even before the election, the people have been dirty. You can see the response of the government towards it. The nonchalant attitude, the body language, the government does not respond to it,
An Unspent focal person for an election monitoring group known as Yaga Africa in Rivers State, Obina Igbogidi, called for immediate investigation of collation and returning officers that compromised the collation process.
We also call for an immediate investigation and prosecution of collation and returning officers who engaged in results manipulation and flagrant violations of the guidelines on results collation. There is need for a comprehensive and independent audit of the 2023 general elections in order to inspire and rekindle public confidence and ensure accountability for operational lapses which we observed, constitutional and electoral legal framework violations, and cases of subversion of the people's vote.
Igbogidi also advised INEC to stick to electronic transmission of polling units results.
The manual collation process has reinforced the ward level and local government area resource collation as the weakest link in Nigeria's election processes. We say this because in states like Rivers, unruly party agents interfered with the collation process. They more or less hijacked the entire election results management process. It is imperative that INEC should, in line with Section 64 of the 2022 Electoral Act, review cases where legitimate concerns have been raised on the conduct and declaration made by collation and returning officers.
It is the major news of Nigeria Info and her input Harker, and still ahead. Traders affected by fire incident at the oil mill market, Obiakpo, laments neglect nearly 2 weeks after fire disaster. Do please stay with us. Welcome back to the major news on 92.3 Nigeria Info here in Port Harcourt. And the former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, his wife Beatrice and their doctor Obinna Obeta have been convicted for organ trafficking and a first verdict of its kind under the Modern Slavery Act. And they were found guilty of facilitating the travel of a young man to Britain with a view to his exploitation. After the 6-week trial at the Old Bailey, the jury found that they criminally conspired to bring the 21-year-old Lagos street trader to London to exploit him of his kidney. And the chairman of the NLC in Rivers State, Alex Atgwanwo, says the National Working Committee of the Congress will meet tomorrow to take a final decision on the modalities for the strike. In an interview with our correspondent, Alex said the Rivers State chapter will make public its modalities for the strike after the meeting, which will be held virtually. Meanwhile, some Port Harcourt residents have expressed divergent views on the strike.
The call for an industrial strike by Labour is highly welcome. Some persons might think or say that it's late, but I want to say that it is never late. It's better late than never.
I do not think the strike is relevant. It is going to compound to the issues we have, because at the end of the day, the strike will still be called off. But the damages caused by the strike, how do we recall that?
I am in support of Labour going for strike, because every person was waiting, thinking that after the election, the unbearable and the intolerable suffering would stop.
I'm not in support of Labour going to strike because of the money strategy, because we have many problems that we're supposed to strike on. So many money issues. We have hiking of a platform price. We have election malpractices and some other things.
President of the NLC, Joe Ajero, yesterday directed workers in the country to start an indefinite strike from Wednesday next week. Ajero also directed all affiliate unions of the NLC to be on standby for picketing exercises across all branches of the CBN nationwide over the lingering cash crunch. And some traders at the popular Old Mill Market, whose goods and property was millions of naira were razed by fire, said they are yet to get any response from the state government nearly 2 weeks after the incident. Our correspondent visited the fire scenes and reports that the scene is still in an untidy state, as some traders are still recounting their ordeals. Now, some of them spoke to our correspondent.
Never anything, we write our name just like that. Till today, nobody have asked us how the thing go up or go. Just managing, I can't keep myself. I don't know, I have looked up, looked down, no way.
Some people don't they sick because of this fire. We spoil market here. So our gari bomb, where. Me self, I think they can't head where they worry me. No, because not too much of thinking. With the bad government, I beg, make them come help us. Make them no leave us like that.
CDC chairman from Kurose and some of the victims go to the Obiapo local government chairman's office. Since then, they have not done anything yet. We've not seen anything. I lost my properties. So if they will help me, I will be very happy. We have already started seeing how we can move on with our lives and our business gradually.
I know that they are not the one that caused the fire, but anyhow they can assist me. They assist me.
As you may know, one of the traders blamed the situation on an illegal petrol, popularly known as Fire, which was stored in one of the shops. Also, you might recall that Governor Wike donated 500 million naira to the rebuilding of a burnt market in Sokoto State to support the victims of the fire disaster last year.
And now the business news.
The federal government has announced that the proposed national carrier, Nigeria Air, will fly before May 29, 2023. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika made this known in Abuja today.
Take it away with the entertainment news.
TikTok's boss Xu Zichu is facing hostile questioning from the U.S. House Committee on Energy and Commerce. Committee Chair Kathy Rogers says the Chinese-owned app should be banned due to security concerns over user data privacy.
And now, updates on the sports news.
Cristiano Ronaldo will become the most capped men's international footballer if he plays in Portugal's Euro 2024 qualifying opener against Liechtenstein on Thursday.
And now, we'll bring you news from around the world.
Large numbers of people are taking to the streets in France on the 9th day of nationwide demonstrations and strikes over pensions reform. The CGT union estimates there are up to 800,000 people protesting on the streets of Paris, where clashes with police are being reported. And that's it on the news this evening. You heard federal lawmaker accused of money laundering, Chinyere Igwe, has been granted a 100 million naira bail. The EFCC says it arrested 6 persons in Port Harcourt for vote trading. Minister of State, Labour and Employment Festus Keyamo has petitioned the DSS to arrest Labour Party's presidential candidate Peter Obi and his running mate for incitement and treasonable felony. Former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, his wife and doctor have been convicted for organ trafficking. On the 14th, large turn of demonstrators in France as protest against pension reforms enters day 9. And that was the news as edited by Onyeka Chinwosu. Mostly sunny weather expected in Port Harcourt this evening. And to remember that peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. And thanks for listening. I'm Ade Dayo, Ilushakin. Good evening.
When there is news, we report it.
What about conversation? We bring it.
You go with me, I know my class.
Why are you talking to me then?
Sport, current affairs,